London, 1665. A bustling metropolis. The River Thames, a bustling artery, flowed through its heart, carrying ships laden with goods from across the globe. Yet, beneath this veneer of prosperity, a silent menace lurked. It arrived on ships, carried in the fur of rats, an unwelcome visitor from distant shores. The Black Death, a scourge that had ravaged Europe centuries earlier, had returned to cast its long dark shadow over London. The previous visitation of this disease, known as the Great Plague of 1348, had left an indelible mark on England's history. Now, over 3 centuries later, this terrifying specter had returned to haunt the land once more. The first hints of the approaching disaster emerged in the winter of 1664. Rumors spread of a strange illness afflicting people in the parish of St. Giles in the Fields, a poverty-stricken area outside London's city walls. Few paid heed, dismissing it as a malady confined to the city's poorest inhabitants. As winter surrendered to spring, a sinister pattern began to emerge. The number of deaths in St. Giles in the Fields escalated at an alarming rate. As spring blossomed into summer, the plague tightened its grip on London. The disease, initially confined to the outskirts, began to snake its way into the heart of the city. Carried by infected rats and fleas, it spread rapidly through the densely populated streets and alleyways. The city's poorest inhabitants, living in cramped and unsanitary conditions, were the most vulnerable. The plague's inexorable advance instilled a growing sense of panic among Londoners. Rumors of the disease's gruesome symptoms spread like wildfire, fueling fear and uncertainty. People began to avoid crowded areas, fearing for their lives. The once bustling markets and taverns grew eerily quiet as the city retreated indoors, gripped by the invisible hand of fear. The authorities, slow to react initially, found themselves struggling to contain the escalating crisis. Traditional methods of disease control, such as quarantining the sick and burning infected belongings, proved woefully inadequate. The Great Plague of London was a terrifying ordeal, primarily due to its gruesome symptoms and swift, merciless nature. The disease, caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, manifested in several horrific ways. It was a silent stalker, transmitted through the bite of infected fleas often carried by rats. One of the most telltale signs of the plague was the appearance of buboes, swollen lymph nodes that protruded from the body like grotesque, discolored grapes. These agonizing swellings, usually found in the groin, armpits, or neck, were filled with pus and caused excruciating pain. As the plague progressed, victims experienced a cascade of agonizing symptoms. High fever, chills, headaches, muscle aches, and debilitating weakness became their constant companions. Perhaps the most terrifying symptom of the plague was the appearance of dark, painful spots, known as God's tokens, which appeared on the skin. Section 4. Desperate measures. Fighting an invisible enemy. Faced with an enemy they could not see or comprehend, the people of London resorted to a combination of practical measures and superstitious rituals in a desperate attempt to ward off the plague. Quarantine became one of the most widely implemented measures. Houses where plague cases were discovered were sealed shut, confining the sick and their families within. A red cross, painted on the door, served as a chilling warning to others. Efforts were made to improve sanitation in the city. Streets were swept, and refuse was removed in an attempt to eliminate breeding grounds for rats. Beyond these practical measures, many people turned to superstition and religion for solace and protection. Section 5. A city transformed life and death in plague-stricken London. The Great Plague of 1665 transformed London from a vibrant hub of commerce and culture into a city consumed by fear and death. The streets, once teeming with life, became eerily deserted, save for the clatter of death carts and the cries of plague criers announcing the grim toll. The air, thick with the stench of decay, carried the constant reminder of the invisible enemy stalking the city. The social fabric of London unraveled as the plague tightened its grip. Fear and suspicion poisoned relationships, as neighbors avoided each other, fearing contagion. The wealthy fled to their country estates, seeking refuge from the pestilence, while the poor remained trapped within the city walls. Amidst the suffering and despair, acts of both great compassion and chilling cruelty unfolded. Doctors, risking their lives, toiled tirelessly to treat the sick while nurses provided comfort and care to the dying. Section 6. The Plague Recedes, a Time of Healing and Rebirth. As the year 1665 drew to a close, the grip of the Great Plague began to loosen. The relentless onslaught of death slowed to a trickle, and the number of new cases dwindled. The reasons for the plague's retreat remain a subject of debate among historians. Some attribute it to the colder weather, which may have inhibited the spread of the disease-carrying fleas. Others point to the effectiveness of the quarantine and sanitation measures. Regardless of the reason, London, battered but not broken, began the long and arduous task of rebuilding. The physical scars of the plague, the abandoned houses and mass graves, served as stark reminders of the horrors endured. Yet, amidst the devastation, a spirit of resilience and renewal emerged. Survivors emerged from their homes, blinking in the sunlight, eager to reclaim their lives. Section 7. The Enduring Legacy. Lessons from the Great Plague. The Great Plague of London, a harrowing chapter in human history, serves as a stark reminder of the devastating power of infectious diseases. It highlights the importance of public health measures, the need for scientific understanding, and the enduring spirit of human resilience in the face of adversity. The plague forced London to confront its vulnerabilities, exposing the shortcomings of its sanitation and healthcare systems. The lessons learned from this devastating outbreak laid the foundation for modern public health practices. Moreover, the Great Plague left an indelible mark on art, literature, and culture. Daniel Defoe's A Journal of the Plague Year, published in 1722, offered a vivid, if fictionalized, account of the plague. The Great Plague, though a tragedy of immense proportions, ultimately taught humanity invaluable lessons about resilience, adaptation, and the importance of safeguarding public health.